Good evening, Metal Faithful. It is I, your mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich, and this is the Metal Hammer of Doom. Tonight, we are reviewing Senjutsu by Iron Maiden, which was released on September 3rd, 2021. This is the band's first studio album in nearly 6 years, following The Book of Souls, which came out in 2015, and it marks the longest gap between two studio Iron Maiden albums. This is also their second double album, and their first studio album since Power Slave in 1994 to have no songwriting contributions from guitarist Dave Murray in any way, as well as the first since Virtual 11 in 1998 to feature multiple songs written by bassist Steve Harris. And I am joined by none other than the original co-host of the Metal Hammer of Doom, Robert Cooper, the Metal Coop. How do you do, sir?
I do about as well as an Iron Maiden concert currently. I'm quite entertaining. I have lots of props. And fortunately, nobody's staring at my dick. Because when I saw Iron Maiden live, I was like, Bruce Dickinson's wiener. There it is.
Was it just like all the way out, just kind of like out of his pants, or was it more of a like a David Bowie Labyrinth kind of a thing where it's just like, oh my, that's a large round-up sausage you've got in your pants, sir, and those are tight pants. Which one was it?
Essentially, yes, it was that.
Okay.
And Bruce Dickinson was growing his hair back out, and it was kind of weird. You know, kind of like...
Did he have like an AJ Styles soccer mom cut?
It was kind of like that halfway point between the two.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those, it's kind of weird sometimes. It's like with Chris Jericho, you know, growing his hair back out. It's almost weird seeing him now because you're so used to seeing him without it.
Sure. We are also joined by my longtime friend and a man who I owe so much to. Ladies and gentlemen, good to his mother. He's really the man behind the whole Radulich and Broadcasting Network operation. He's such a great guy. He's so nice. He's really, I couldn't do this without him. Ladies and gentlemen, you should love him as much as I do, even more. It's the most wonderful, the most essential, the absolutely fantastic Jesse Starcher. How do you do, sir?
Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, for the fantastic roundtable we will be having discussing Venom Part 2. And that right there is why I am being filleted right here on the podcast.
You know, this reminds me of a great Shaquille O'Neal rap. Hey, Kobe, tell me how my ass tastes.
Well,
that comes later. Jesse, I made you now. In our continuing saga, you know, this is the Metal Hammer of Doom. It's like your favorite television show. It's episodic. You never know what twists and turns are going to come about. And you dropped a bomb. Okay, you dropped a bomb on us at the end of last week's show where we reviewed the new Dee Snider album. For those who haven't heard it, Jesse, I told you we were going to be reviewing the new Iron Maiden album, and you went, "What's an Iron Maiden?" And I went, "Bogus." And you said, I still don't know what you're talking about. Stop doing Bill and Ted references. And I said, okay. And for real, though, I'll let you jump in here. You had never heard much Iron Maiden before, correct?
No, I had never sat down and made a faithful effort to go through their discography. And the hits, I could tell you, okay, yeah, I know what Iron Maiden sounds like. I know I've heard The Trooper over and over. I've heard Run to the Hills plenty of times.
Sure.
But getting into some of those things that are a little deeper, I never took the time to do it. So, yeah, last week I told everybody that this will be the first time that I had ever listened to a full album from Iron Maiden. And, yeah, very interesting. You made me a playlist, Mark Radulich.
That's what I want to talk about real quick. Before we get into Senjutsu, here's the playlist that I made for Jesse. It's 22 songs. I'm going to try to read through these as fast as possible here. It's The Trooper, Run to the Hills, Fear of the Dark, The Number of the Beast, Wasted Years, Hallowed Be Thy Name, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Stratego, Where Eagles Dare, Die With Your Boots On, Children of the Damned, Aces High, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, which I listened to in English class. That's the kind of school I went to. Be Quick or Be Dead. Killers, Prowler, Running Free, Phantom of the Opera, Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter, Can I Play with Madness?
Madness.
Dance of Death, and Speed of Light from Book of Souls. Robert Cooper, did I miss anything? Is there an egregious miss here that I did not put on that list, or did I capture all the great Iron Maiden?
The Sign of the Cross. It's a favorite.
Okay.
The Klansman. Did you say the Klansman? I don't think
I did not.
Klansman.
I don't know.
The Klansman is one of my favorites, man. That one fucking rocks. Some of the newer stuff, Passchendaele's a really good one, especially the orchestral version.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Did you get any of the stuff from their first two albums? Like
I said,
like Running Free, Wrathchild.
Let's see. I got a lot from Peace of Mind. I got some stuff from Number of the Beast, and Power Slave, and Fear of the Dark, and Killers. Self-titled.
Okay, yeah, that'll do it.
Okay. Well, Jesse, we need your report now. What did you think of your first Iron Maiden experience?
22 songs that I really had no issues with. I had a lot of good times listening to this album, this playlist. Probably, I don't know. Iron Maiden, they're known for the length of their songs. So this playlist, 22 songs, was 2 hours and 3 minutes, which that's actually surprising. I thought it would be like 3. But there was a lot of great stuff on here. And there was some stuff that I had heard before, but did not realize that Iron Maiden had done, specifically Hallowed Be Thy Name, which I had said that I had heard. Oh my goodness, help me out, Mark. Who was it that did the cover of that? And I was like, I thought it was original.
Cradle of Filth?
No, oh my goodness. No, I can't remember the name of the band. But I'm sure, nope, it'll come back to me. Okay. Alan Moore's V for Vendetta, Swamp Thing.
Metaconia.
Metaconia. Anyway, Hallowed Be Thy Name was covered by a band called, here it is, no it's not. Anyway.
I was thinking,
Hallowed Be Thy Name, that's what you're trying to figure out? Hallowed Be Thy Name.
Machine Head.
Yes, okay.
Machine Head did a cover of that song.
Anyway, I've never heard that cover.
Loved it. Loved that song. Thought it was theirs originally. That took me by surprise. But I still, of all the stuff that was on this playlist, that one, of course, stuck out to me because I love the story that's being told in that song. The Fear of the Dark, I remember telling you that kind of stuck out to me as well, just because I was like, I ought to have my son listen to this because he's just completely afraid of like just dimly lit spaces. I'm serious. I will be sitting down here in the basement, and in the broad daylight, just because the hallway is barely dark, he will run full force, and I can hear him up there just so he can get through the hallway. I'm like, oh, dude, there's nothing to be scared of. But anyway,
poor baby.
Yeah. 2 Minutes to Midnight's iconic. I mean, I already talked about the Trooper Run to the Hills, Number of the Beast. Those I've heard before a lot. But yeah, those stuck out to me. And Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. That's fun.
Yes, it is.
That's a fun one.
That's a great daddy-daughter dance song.
It's good stuff. But yeah, I was really impressed. For a guy who hasn't ever really sat down and listened to these, ad nauseum, I really did enjoy what I heard.
All right, well, let's jump into Senjutsu here. For if you've never heard the podcast before, we play 3 songs at a time. So the first 3 here are going to be Senjutsu, Stratego, and The Writing on the Wall. Oh, Robert Cooper, can you see that writing on the wall, baby?
Every time I hear that, all I can think of is Jeff Hardy.
Okay. Why?
Because that was like his theme song from like 2008 or 9 up until when he finished up his first run.
All right.
Or I guess second run with WWE. I actually really fucking dug this album. Kind of a funny thing for me with this one, though. I think it's because the songs are so damn long and I've only listened to it a few times. Hard for me to kind of pick them out in some ways. In terms of the order, not in terms of the sound, because there's a lot of diversity in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they really offer kind of the gamut of sounds that they can really push out. They got the power metal vocals, but they have a lot of progressive metal in there too. I think it helps that they have 3 guitarists.
Agreed. They so two out of the 3 songs that we heard there were actually the only 2 singles they released from the album. We have Writing on the Wall, which was released July 15th, and then Stratego, which was released on August 19th, which is on your playlist that I made, Jesse.
That's right.
What do you think of these 3 songs, Senjutsu, Stratego, and the Writing on the Wall?
So Senjutsu, I did have to look that up today. I wanted to find out specifically what that meant. and it is derived from or translates to tactics and strategy. So it's, of course, apt that the second song on the album is called Stratego, which is based off of, he said, it's funny because I was looking at the Apple Music quotes from Genius.com, and he's like, Stratego's a game. I've never played it. And I was like, oh, okay. But anyway, he talks about how it was a French board game that was also based off of a Japanese game. I mean, that all three of these songs are strong, but I will tell you my absolute favorite off of this album is track 3, which is The Writing on the Wall. And I think that it was a smart move releasing that one as a single. Can you guys tell me, because you guys know more about it than I do, but it just, Writing on the Wall sounded so different compared to what I heard on the playlist you gave me. And I think it feels like the track that sticks out the most when you compare it to the rest of what's on this album. Is that something, that sound that they have, the Writing on the Wall, is that something that they've done before?
Yeah.
Or does that feel completely unique to you guys?
Coop, I'll give you a chance to respond to this, but as far as I know, the stuff that I sent you is the most well-known, more the thrashy type Iron Maiden stuff. That's the stuff that everyone likes. But like every band, they mix up their songs on their albums, and there's always like a ballad or a slower song or something that sounds like slightly acoustic. And that's an Iron Maiden thing, for nearly all of their albums. But it's not the stuff that people love. I mean, The Writing on the Wall, I think, it's funny because we've talked about this with other bands too, especially here on the Metal Hammer of Doom, that as they get older, they get more mellow. And, they don't want to play 100 miles an hour anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think for Iron Maiden, The Writing on the Wall is sort of indicative of where they are as a band. I mean, they've been around for 100 years. Like, I'm sure they're not into doing yet another version of the Trooper or Number of the Beast. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no kidding.
So I think for them, and and also, yeah, there's certainly, especially if you go on TikTok or in metal TikTok, you're going to find, there's definitely people who like the hard and fast stuff. But I think they also know their audience from way back when has grown with them, and not necessarily, they don't necessarily always want to hear the Trooper either. They're like, okay, I don't mind like a slower, more powerful song. And so I think you're right in that sense, Jesse, that The Writing on the Wall is, it's kind of for the older fans that don't necessarily need to hear them do the Trooper 50 times in a row. What do you think, Robert?
I mean, I think you are right on top there. And honestly, a lot of their newer music has been like that, though. Their last few albums, they tend to have a lot longer songs than they had previously.
Yeah.
And I don't really feel like they need to necessarily have those songs like The Trooper, because I feel like musically maybe they've kind of moved past that on a creative side.
Mm-hmm. Gotta remember, they were part of that like new wave of heavy metal when it was a race to go fast, and they lost that race by a country mile to the big fours of thrash, and then eventually Napalm Death and all of that. So it's like, this is like 50 years later, and they've got nothing to prove, nothing at all.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. It's something that's very funny. I was reading one day that some people feel that with metal, perhaps we're too reverent to older bands to where they can really shit on a plate and we'll still be excited for it and not really care. Whereas you have some other genres that
I was gonna say,
they're not going to put up with it.
It's not just older bands. It's whatever the flavor of the moment is. People tend to artificially elevate. AEW. Sorry, I'm still dealing with a cough.
It's all right. I am really enjoying AEW because it's just nice to believe in an American company for once.
Yes, but there is some artificial inflation of how great they are in fact doing. Not everything is perfect.
Oh, it's not. Like, there's problems. Like, their roster is actually far too fucking bloated.
Well, they have 87 hours of television to fill. That's the least of my issues with them. But hey, Iron Maiden,
Well, I mean, half of that 87 hours is squashes.
Sure.
But, yeah, Iron Maiden, yeah. But I do feel like with Iron Maiden, they're still releasing quality work, and they can just do whatever the fuck they want. They're Iron Maiden, and we're still going to love them.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't. I'm not going to take anything away from people who are reverent towards Iron Maiden. I think they've deserved it. I mean, you and I did a retrospective. It'll be re-released eventually of Megadeth, and one of the things I remember talking about with you and me about like a band like Megadeth is, boy, they had a stretch there in the middle where everything they put out was garbage, and Jesse and I have talked about Slayer, and I think you and I did a retrospective of Slayer as well, where we said there was a stretch there of Slayer when they didn't put out garbage, but everything they put out was the same. There was like, it just seemed like an excuse to tour. Anthrax certainly has had their misses with both singers, both Joey Belladonna and
John Bush.
What was the last name again?
John Bush.
John Bush. Sorry, I couldn't remember. I'm old and decrepit, and I forget things, sir. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm screwed when I hit your age.
Yeah, you really are.
I'm young and decrepit, and I can't remember anything.
I was a healthy man once, and then I hit 40, and I went to pieces. Anyway.
I'll be 30 this year.
God, 15 years older than you. Anyway, but what I was saying is, like, a lot of the great bands, even like Metallica, they had that stretch there where it was like load, reload, shoot me in the face, kick me in the balls, all those albums where people were like, blech. I know I've told the story before.
The 90s was legitimately awful for like 75% of your pre-90s bands.
I've told the story to Jesse. I don't remember if I ever told you, and probably have. But if you never heard the podcast before, this is new to you. I remember going to one of the many outdoor parties and barbecues that I went through throughout my life, and I got cornered by some elitist metalhead, and he was like, I think I was wearing a Metallica shirt, and he was like, "What's your deal, man?" Which is always a great way to enter a party, by the way.
Wow.
He points at my shirt. He's like, hey, what's your deal? I'm like, I'm here to party. I'm drinking a beer. What do you want from me? He's like, we're in a Metallica shirt. I'm like, yes, that's to cover up my man boobs. Why do you ask, sir? And he said, I don't think I was that witty at the time, but go with it. And he said, you like Metallica, huh? And I'm like, no, I just like to wear the shirt, fuckface. Yes, I like Metallica. What's your point, asshole?
Name 5 songs.
Kind of. That's where I'm going with this. He goes, pre-Black Album or post-Black Album? And I went, what if you sucked my dick first, and then I told you? Could we do that? And I ended up telling him, no, I liked Metallica all the way back to Kill 'Em All. Leave me alone, you metal elitist. But all that to say, Iron Maiden I don't think has a bad album. They're all 100-year history, Robert. I don't think they've ever had that stretch, that Slayer or Anthrax, Metallica, so many other bands have had. Megadeth.
They did.
You think so?
I mean, the Blaze Bayley stuff, as well as the few albums before, like Fear of the Dark and what was the other one? I don't fucking remember.
Fear of the Dark,
going
back to Fear of the Dark. What was that? 89?
I think it was 92.
92. Okay.
I think I'm looking it up. But I mean, they had some stinkers. Like, I actually am really fond of some of the Blaze Bayley stuff, but it's only in pieces. Like, they've got some poo poo in there. Let's see. No Prayer for the Dying in 90, Fear of the Dark in 92, X Factor from 95, Virtual XI from 98. Like, those albums all have bright spots. Like, they're not nearly as shitty as Risk or Diabolos and Musica or Stomp 442
or Reload
or Saint Anger. Actually, no, there's at least a few good songs on Reload.
Yeah,
Saint
Anger was the low point for Metallica.
Oh yeah, I still maintain that Load and Reload are 2 good half albums. Like, if you could have cut the shit out of the other half, it would have been perfect.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was like most people's consensus on Metallica is that Load and Reload really needed to be edited down to make one good album. But hey, Jesse's just sitting back and listening, like, okay, nerds. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I'm enjoying what I'm hearing.
Jesse started out as a fan. This is exactly what it used to be like for Jesse.
Oh yeah, this is taking me back.
All right, speaking of take you back, let's go back and listen to some more music. We've got Lost in a Lost World, Days of Future
AIDS.
Past, and The Time Machine. Shut up, Robert.
All is not, it seems to be on the outside. Sometimes what appears to be is a show. What shows in the face is only a mirror. We all have some better places to go. We don't know just what we have till we've lost it. Until that time comes, I know that it's gone. So hard to say things that we should have learned long ago. Tear myself away from thoughts in my head. To the sword by an endless whim. Follow me now to a place we begin, wrought with no anger, wrought with no fear, devilish children playing hidden in silence below barren waste, confusion, hunger. Am I still awake? Have I ever told you about my time machine? Set you down and tell you everywhere I've been. I have lived a long life, life extraordinary. Let me tell you about it. Let me take you there. Does it really matter? It's all in the mind.
All right, so these songs are like 20 minutes long. So, like, I often have to cut them off before they get to like the really good parts. And I know people listening that might be frustrating, but that's just the way it is with podcasts. You can't play the whole songs unless you license the music, and we're already running a guerrilla operation here. But I'll tell you, one of the things that help us run this guerrilla operation are our great sponsors. And Jesse knows what I'm talking about because he likes the notes. Don't you, Jesse?
Oh, yeah.
You love the notes.
Absolutely, I love the notes.
Jesse does a comic book podcast where he writes fathoms, leagues of notes, just pages upon pages of notes. And Jesse, what do you use to write those notes?
Well, every once in a while, I need a little bit of help, just because, hey, I don't spell so good, and I need not spell, S-P-E-L-L.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And the only reason I know how to spell is because I got Grammarly, Mark Radulich.
That's right. If you are on Twitter and you're like, Adam Cole, baby, but it comes out Coke because autocorrect, like me.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah, that was wonderful.
Adam Coke, baby. Nobody interacts with me on the internet ever, but if I fuck up and misspell something, they all come out of the woodwork. Hey, asshole, it's Cole, not Coke. Suck a dick. All right. And if you want to tell somebody on the internet to suck a dick, you can use Grammarly. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you. One day we're going to hear from Grammarly, like, your ad reads are not reflective of our product, and we would prefer if one of your hosts would not tell people to use our product to tell others to go suck a dick. But today is not that day. Grammarly helps... Grammarly helps you write
Does Grammarly also offer a thesaurus aspect?
You
Yes,
are absolutely
absolutely
correct about that, sir. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly everywhere else you write on the web, Robert Cooper. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. Suppose you wanted to write a question for a trivia show, Jesse. Just suppose.
Mm-hmm.
And on the 8th page of this question that you're trying to write, you somehow lose track of what it is you're writing. Don't you?
Yep.
What would you do? What would you do then, Jesse?
Well, I would probably turn to Grammarly and say, what could help me out to finish this question? And I really hope it would be another 8 paragraphs.
Pages.
Pages? Pages.
Pageographs.
Yes.
Pageographs.
Jesse.
Well, I wish this was a video podcast right now. You have no idea how many little fingers you're getting. No clue.
Chris Bailey took care of that for you earlier. I got quite a few of them from him. asking him questions like, in Canada they have a circus, right? Like a polar bear or something. And it was a lot of fingers.
Oh no.
I'm obnoxious.
He's on the outskirts of Canada too.
Yeah, he's
not like in the middle of the boonies or anything, but that boy's out there.
Yeah, he's in like the Appalachia of Canada.
That's
what?
Right.
So if you're obnoxious like me, but you don't quite know how to spell obnoxious, you should download Grammarly today by going to getgrammarly.com/W2M Again, that's getgrammarly.com/W2M to download Grammarly for free, and then you can sound like me, and you can go wee. Speaking of wee, Robert Cooper, we listened to 3 songs. It was Lost in a World, Days of Future Past, and The Time Machine. What'd you think?
I thought the Time Machine had a nice bop to it. I thought it was a little different beat to it. I could dig it. It was fun. Days of Future Past, I was really hoping was an X-Men reference, but I don't think so.
Yeah,
unfortunately. I really felt like that was a loss on their part, but hey, what do I know?
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, but I do really feel that each song was different in a way that differentiates it from other ones on the album. I feel like even though these songs are can be up to 10 minutes long, you're not going to get them mixed up after on multiple listens.
What did you think, Jesse?
I enjoyed them. Of course, just I think of the 3, Days of Future Past stuck out to me the most. There is a Moody Blues album called Days of Future Past that he references in his Apple Notes, which is interesting. But Days, I don't know if you know much of the Moody Blues. I know I don't. But Past is spelled P-A.
My mom adores them.
Really?
I can tell you
Okay.
everything you need to know.
I took my dad to go see the Moody Blues when I lived on Long Island.
Days of Future Past is spelled obviously Days of Future is the same, but Past is spelled P-A-S-S-E-D. So, but anyway, that's mentioned in the Apple Notes when I was reading through there. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I mean, these are three songs that to me, they just feel like they belong on the album. This is kind of what I was expecting from Iron Maiden, just by listening to. Okay, let me put it this way. It's kind of like what I was listening to on the playlist, but this feels more laid back, and we kind of already discussed that about how they don't have to do this, they don't have to keep up the pace from what they have done before. This album feels a little bit less of a tempo, I guess I would say, or Yellow Fort, but nobody gets the Ford tempo. Anyway.
No, that one, you missed me on that one.
All right, sorry. That was my first ever car. Was a Ford Tempo.
I've never even heard of that. When did they make it?
Ford Tempo?
Was it a yellow Ford Tempo?
That was not a yellow Ford Tempo. It was the most common car ever when I owned it. I'll tell you that much. I swear I saw one all the time. Anyway,
it's funny. My dad is 6'4" and used to drive a Chevette.
Oh, that's wonderful.
His head was scraping the roof the entire time.
I owned a Chevette at one point. I had I had a 10-inch speaker in the back of this, in the hatchback.
Oh my God.
I
I remember one of the fondest moments of 8th grade was, for some reason, in the one of the English questions, it had a Chevette, and everybody's like, "You mean a Corvette?" And the teacher's like, "No, it's not that." And I just sat there cackling, being like, "Ha ha ha! My dad used to drive one of those."
The old
fucking
Chevy.
tin can.
The Shove It, as we used to call it.
And the funny thing is, because he still drives for UPS. It's been 35 years. He actually told me that thing was light enough to where he could put chains on the tires and just kind of skate across the snow anytime it would, like, snow or ice.
Very nice. Very nice. But yeah, Mark, I enjoyed those three. It was some good stuff there. It felt like the album that I've been listening to didn't really change a whole lot. Didn't really blow my expectations away. We'll just put it that way.
Alrighty. Jesse, we got 4 more tracks to go. I'm going to play them all in a row here, and that'll make 10. But when I come back, let's hear what the other critics thought. We're up to that part of the show. See what the Angry Metal Guy and company thinks. What do you think?
Sure. That sounds great. I got them ready to go.
All right. Oh, perfect. All right. So, last 4 songs of the night: Darkest Hour, Death of the Celts, The Parchment, and Hell on Earth.
walketh upon the field of the dead, the burden of blood that breaketh the bone, the battlefield now I make it my own, the glory of the morning we make, praying the roses still the Lord above my spirit says, death is not proud, nor mourn no less, power of my soul be free, deliver us all to victory, wither the pain that's almost a joy, wander there my heart will destroy, dreaming of days of our youth again, strangely no wonder memories remain, Lord thy stone upon the realm, healing me none at the gates of hell, for I am but a messenger one, sent to new reckoning what must be done.
All right, Jesse. Before you hit me with those sweet, sweet reviews from the other folks, like the Angry Metal Guy and so forth and so on, I want to remind everybody that you can get this album on AmazonMusic.com. Did you know that, Robert Cooper?
I did not.
You can. If you are like, I want to hear this album, but I want to stream it over and over and over and over again, you can do that by clicking the link in our podcast description for getamazonmusic.com/W2M network. Yes, my loves. Getamazonmusic.com/W2M network for a free 30-day trial of the Amazon Music Unlimited service. Click the link, make sure you complete the sign-up process, and you'll get a free 30 days to stream all the Iron Maiden you want. Not just Senjutsu, Jesse, but Power Slave, and Fear of the Dark, and Killers. All your favorites. They're all there.
Love it.
You can
And
listen
Dance of Death with that really fucking awful CG album cover.
to it. I actually saw them on the Dance of Death tour. They played I think it was the Beacon Theater. Okay, guys. Yes, if you click our link, you can get a free 30 days of the service. You like it, you keep it, you pay the monthly fee. If not, you skip it, you cancel it. No fuss, no contracts, no muss, no buts, no nothing. Jesse, but what about the Angry Metal Guy in all of this?
Oh, well, they did not review this as far as I could tell. I did a little bit of a search in Google, and I'm very surprised, to be honest. I'm really surprised.
I would have, this showed up in, all of my various news feeds and whatnot. People were all over this album.
Yeah, there's nothing that I can find with Angry Metal Guy and Senjutsu in it. So we'll have to go to Metacritic just to kind of look at a decent... They got about 14 official reviews here listed. 8 of those 14 reviews are at the 80 mark. So out of 100, they all got a lot of these gave an 80. All Music gave it an 80. Rolling Stone gave it an 80. The Independent gave it an 80. I'll read to you what Rolling Stone said here, and I'm sure they just took a snippet from Rolling Stone's review, but it says, if listeners have the stamina and the patience, Senjutsu is one of the most rewarding and vital albums in Maiden's catalog.
Wow.
So just to kind of throw that back to you, Mark, and Coop, you're more than welcome to weigh in here. Does it feel like when you're listening to this, like you have to be in the mood and also really wanting to listen to an Iron Maiden album, specifically this album? Is it something, Mark, that you felt you had to be just, I've got to listen to some Maiden, so this album, I'm going to power through it? Or was it just like throw it on and enjoy it? Or how'd you feel?
And I'll answer your question, but also kind of wrap up my final thoughts about the album. Iron Maiden is one of those bands that I can just kind of throw on and have an experience with, and I'll listen to it and I'll enjoy it, and then when it's over, I'm going to move on to something else. There's not a lot of repeat value in this. This is not so like repeat value, right? I mean, I think for everyone it's different, but for me, repeat value is the kind of thing you listen to because, for example, like if you're working out, right? So like Five Finger Death Punch has a high level of repeatability for me because I would want to hear those songs while I'm, riding my bike or running or lifting weights or whatever, or if I'm cleaning the house. There are certain songs that, like if I'm having dinner with my family, we're having one of those nights where we're actually all eating at the dinner table and we want to hear music. There are definitely some go-to standards that I will put on. But then there are albums you listen to once, you have that experience, you start at the beginning of the journey, it takes you to the end, and you're like, what a lovely journey that was. On the shelf you go, I don't ever expect to pull you back out again. And that's kind of how this album feels for me.
While.
Yeah. I mean, there's always a reason to go back and listen to something, but this doesn't have high repeatability. This is one of those, you listen to it, you experience it, you put it back, and, maybe you talk about it, but otherwise, I don't want to make it sound like Iron Maiden made a forgettable album. I don't think they did. I think they made a very solid, very good album. And I think it deserves high praise, and I think it deserves, I think it deserves the kind of podcast that we did tonight regarding it. But I can't imagine when you ask me at the end of the year, like, what are some of the favorite albums? What are some of the albums you remember? I don't think I'm going to remember this. I think I'll remember that I liked it. It'll be one of those where, and I know I've said this to you on our previous end of the year shows, I remember liking it. I couldn't tell you anything about it, though. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I land with Iron Maiden. I would give this a, for that reason alone, probably an A-. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not rum ahoy. You know what I mean? It's not something where months later I'm like, hey, Jesse, Harambe! And we have ourselves a giggle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Harambe, the pirate gorilla.
Yes.
Coop, stamina and patience. I mean, do you felt like you had to have stamina and patience to make it through this?
I mean, I think when you see a lot of 10-minute songs slated back to back, it can be a little daunting, especially in today's everything in 4 minutes or less, including your Amazon packages. God, that kills me sometimes. I do think you have to be in perhaps a certain mindset to go with this album, just because there's not a whole lot of quick in, quick out change songs. But at the same time, some of these songs do have multiple layers to them, to where in some ways it's, to where you can listen to parts of it and it'll still be different from other parts of the song, and it won't be all that bad. I think I kind of agree with Mark, but I think for me, it's just because everything was so long, it was hard for me to absorb it all in one go. I think it's just going to take multiple. That's what I think for me. It's just going to have to take multiple goes at it. But I still did greatly enjoyed this album. I'm happy I had the experience. I'll probably, towards the end of the year, if I listen to it again, probably will bring back some good memories.
Yeah, I mean, I will agree with the fact that it may be something that I do not go and seek out later on in the year. one of the things that this album had for me that I really enjoy in a lot of my music is storytelling. If you listen to what is being told in the bulk of these songs, there's a great story. The Darkest Hour, we just played that. It was the first track of the last 4 that we played, and that is a song all about Winston Churchill and how he kind of stood up against the Nazis. So it's, there's a story in just about every single one of these songs, and that I can appreciate. Whether it's my type of sound, there's nothing on here that I find offensive. That's for sure. I mean, this is some good classic metal, in my opinion. That does lean, I think, in my opinion, it leans towards the progressive side of things sometimes. But I've enjoyed what I heard. So, as for the album as a whole, I had a good time. I'll just finish this out here, Mark, and I'll turn it over to you to close us out. But to kind of give you the best rating versus the lowest rating that's on Metacritic. So Sputnik Music gave it a 74, and it says all the songs here have excellent qualities to them, but have their momentum jarred by some by-the-numbers moments. These flaws are not new, though, and they don't stop Senjutsu from being another solid album in the new millennium Iron Maiden catalog. And I mean, that right there that's high praise, in my opinion. Even though it's a 74, they're still saying it's a good album. The Guardian gave it a 100. Eccentric, bombastic heavy metal at its finest. So there you go. Mark Radulich, I'm ready to go, man. Let's hear it.
All right. Well, that is our review of Iron Maiden Senjutsu. Hope you enjoyed it. Next week, we've got Metallica, The Blacklist. We're not going to play all 54 songs because no one wants to be here for 5 hours. But myself, Jesse Starcher, and Robert Cooper will take selections from The Blacklist, and we'll play those for you and kind of give you our overview of what we hear. Some of the stuff that we don't play may be good, maybe bad. We won't know because we're only going to play certain selections from it, and that's just the way it is. And then the following week, we have a special Monday episode of the Metal Hammer of Doom. It'll be Andrew WK, God is Partying, and then we'll end the month on September 29th with Poppy Flux. Oh, Jesse the Poppy.
No, I cannot wait to worship at the church.
Oh, yes, church is in session, and Mistress Poppy, she has something to tell you. And we'll be skipping a week. Jesse will be busy, but I won't be. Too
much joy in that. Too much.
You have my many thanks. But we'll be back on October 13th for Monster Magnet, A Better Dystopia. October, I like to do cover albums and such. This is kind of a weird October, so we're not doing as many as I would have normally liked. But we are getting at least one in. Monster Magnet, A Better Dystopia, their covers album, October 13th, and then we'll be doing the Silver Scream 2. That they Einstein Kills did the Silver Scream a few years ago. It was like a tribute to horror movies. This being the Halloween season and it being a fairly new album by this point, we'll review the Silver Scream 2, Welcome to Horrorwood. So that'll be fun. And then as part of the Superblog team-up, Jesse, did you know that the Superblog team-up was going to hell?
Ooh, in a handbasket?
Yes.
All right.
Skipping merrily along through the woods with Red Riding Hood. The Superblog team-up's going straight to hell. So our contribution this year, no comic book, no source material, but hey, we are going to do one podcast for the Superblog team-up. We'll be reviewing the new Halloween album, Halloween. Do you get it, Robert Cooper? Halloween. Do you get it? Do you understand?
Something in me was really seeing the resemblance. If you wouldn't have said anything, I think I'd have missed it.
That's right. It's very subtle. So, Jesse, do you understand that the Superblock team-up is going to hell and we're reviewing Halloween? Get it?
Wow. Oh, I think I can draw the lines. Connect the dots.
And then we'll pick up again. And then we'll pick up again on November 3rd with Ministry, Moral Hygiene. Oh, Uncle Al, you're back. What president will you make fun of now?
And
Oh,
we're
yeah.
tired of it.
We're tired of
of it.
Rim-a-ding dang dang dong ding dong ding a ding a dang a dong. So, without further dang along my ling long, Jesse, what do you got going on?
Well, I mean, look, you can check out the Unspoken Issues Comics podcast, where myself, Chris Armstrong, some other people from the Unspoken Decade, such as Derry Waite or maybe even Dean Compton, get together and talk about 90s comics. We just released one today, as a matter of fact. It is, we usually have a poll, and this time the poll ended up being a tie, so we covered both issues that were on the poll, one of which was the last and final issue of Rocco's Modern Life that came out from Marvel, and the other one was the 5th issue of Duckman, which was the final issue of that run as well from Topps Comics. And really, all it was us just going, boy, this is goofy and funny and silly. And then we talked about some of our own personal experiences as it relates to the comic book, such as going camping and fun camping stories, and also some comic convention stories. So we had a good time doing that. And watch out, because there's some more stuff coming down the pike for all this. I think Dean Compton has some plans for doing a large focus on Carnage to tie in with the upcoming Venom 2 movie that I'm going to be, I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff for that now that I think about it. And then, hey, Tripped Up Trivia just released, I think, this past Saturday. If you like to, if you got some time to kill and you listen to your podcast, why not have a little bit of fun and a little bit of interaction with your podcast? You know what I'm saying? Sit down, grab yourself a piece of paper, play along with us. See how well you do. It's 30 questions on toys. Mark Radulich was there. Evan Bevins was there. I got 2 warring podcasts to send a representative and have a blood feud on said podcast, where it was Remington Hitchcock and Cliff Barnes. Remington Hitchcock from the Dueling Ogres podcast, and of course Cliff Barnes from Kapow, the Pop Culture podcast. And it was a lot of fun. Just to, we were quizzing each other about toys over the last, I think it was 70 years since 1950. So yeah, sit down, have a good time. I always have a good time on those shows. So that's really all I got going on.
Well, you got more than that, because Jesse way back in the day had the foresight to download all of our old Blog Talk Radio shows. Only his, because he's selfish, not mine. He said fuck Mark Radulich and all of his content, so I had to go back and pay for my Blog Talk Radio account to get all that stuff back. But Jesse, who's a forward-thinking man obsessed with time travel, he went into the archive before it got shut down and downloaded all of his old source materials. And he edited them and cut out all the hums and the haws and the hee-hawing, and he reposted them here on this feed as part of the W2M network, and he calls it the syndicated source material. And he only did like 10 of them. Most of them are what-ifs. But the last run... the last run of the syndicated source material that he got up to before he decided to abandon this project for no apparent reason was Savage Dragon #1, which will be out September 12th. And then Why the Last Man will be out Monday, September 13th, coinciding with Why the Last Man television show debuting on Hulu. And then
When's the last time you heard Josh Calandris on a podcast? Yeah, that's how long ago it was.
Wow, that's amazing. But our good buddy Cole Marented, who's a big Transformers expert, he got together with Jesse, and they did Transformers Back to the Future issues 1 through 4. After 97 years, those 4 issues finally came out, and they sat and talked about it. And that is your next issue of the Source Material podcast proper that's coming out. Never mind this Unspoken Issues crap that I let Jesse do. His real podcast is Source Material. He did Shang-Chi. He did Malignant Man by James Wan, who has a movie coming out this Friday called Malignant, not the same thing. And then he's got this Transformers Back to the Future deal going on. And then right before Venom 2 comes out, him and Jason Teasley, the prodigal son, will be reviewing Venom Carnage Unleashed. So, it's all Jesse all the time. But Jesse, I have a question for you before we go.
Mm-hmm.
Are we ever going to get any more syndicated source material? You did like 5 of them. And now we're done.
I don't think so. I did a whole year's worth, sir. It took me 20-some issues, 20-some episodes, but spaced out every other week. Yeah. And
until I moved half of them on you.
I don't know. I found that I found that I've been pretty busy doing other podcasts and,
Why?
and editing things. And
Things have been very quiet in your home as of late. What are you talking about?
oh, I don't know about all that, man. Do not know about all that.
I feel like you haven't had a lot going on in your life with
no.
with your kids going back to school and a rampant pandemic.
Yes. We are currently we've got one person that's confirmed, and that's my son who has COVID, and then we're trying to find out if my wife has it, and we still haven't got the test results back from that, but she has been like wiped out for a week.
Well, if she's wiped out, why can't you get her to edit your syndicated source material?
why don't I?
Just sit her in front of the computer.
Why don't I?
How hard could it be to edit a podcast? Really?
Listen to this podcast and tell me what I did wrong and fix it all, Melinda, please.
Why don't you know what you should do? You should start a network and get people to be on that network and then force them to do your dirty work for you.
Oh, I hear that works well for some people.
If you shame and beg and cajole and bribe, it works really well.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that happening.
Don't you think, Cooper? Do you think all those things work?
Oh yeah, just absolute, just pure emotional blackmail.
Yeah, I find that works very well. All right. Now that I've teased Jesse long enough about his, I'm anxious to hear more of this. There was a handful of things I was like, oh, Jesse, we could have, we could have done syndicated source material for like the long Halloween. We could have done syndicated source material for all kinds of things, and it was like, fuck off. I'm essential.
It was like 20. Man, damn it, Mark Radulich. See, this is guilt and shame, ladies and gentlemen. Right? It's palatable. Palatable is the word. Get Grammarly on the spoon. Palpable.
Palpable. That's the word you're looking for.
If it was palatable, I'd taste it. I don't want to taste it. I don't want to taste the guilt and shame.
You don't want all of my guilt and shame inside of you, in your mouth, just dancing around in there? Just all the way tickling the back of your throat?
Coop's got
Remember,
stuff to plug.
kids, sure. The safe word is
The safe word is hey, speaking of Cooper, you're not doing anything else, are you? I was going to skip you because I don't think you have anything to plug last time we talked.
Coop, want to edit some podcasts? Oh, okay.
yeah, no, I'm would you look at the time?
Everybody wants to yammer in a chat, but once you ask them to do stuff, suddenly everyone's busy. Okay, then.
Yeah, I mean, darn, if I have too many women that have to stop talking to me on the internet to spend time with this.
You need to get on TikTok. That's where all the easy women are. At least that's what they tell me on TikTok. Speaking of TikTok,
is it? you know what's crazy? At my dad's birthday party, this 57-year-old man is like 18 plus TikTok challenges. I'm like, what the fuck is that? He's like, oh, you don't know? I'm like, no. He goes, well, it's just a lot more lewd and there's boobs. I'm like, why do you know about this and I don't?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Cooper, let's talk after the podcast. I'll teach you all the adult 18 plus TikTok stuff that I've discovered in a month.
I await with bated breath.
All righty. Speaking of bated breath, we are done here on the Metal Hammer of Palatable. We are palatable and palpable. All right, folks. For Jesse Starcher, I'm Mark Radulich. That's Robert Cooper. We'll see you next week on the Metal Hammer of Doom. Be well, be safe, and behave.